Yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah, very, very good question.
Yeah, this is a very good question.
Oh my gosh, that's such a good question.
Oh, that's a great question.
Ooh, that's a great question.
Yeah, that's a great question, Zanger.
It's a great question.
It's a great question.
Yeah, it's a great question. Really good question.
Gosh, this question to me, I hate this question.
That's a loaded question. But okay.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for your support of Indie Agency News. Let's meet an indie agency. I got you, Mark.
I'm back.
I failed miserably. I was trying so hard to get your camera on before you got back.
I kind of felt that, and I ran very fast.
No, oh man, we almost had it. Well, we are heading to Boston, and you can see here I got Portland there and Mount Hood in the background. So yeah, I decided to start using some backgrounds for a change. People said, "Why don't you put backgrounds in the back here?" I said, "I don't know." So there you go. There you go. We were talking about this earlier. Fun fact: I'm in Portland, and based on a coin flip. The founders of Portland were from Boston, Massachusetts, Portland, Maine. It's based on a coin flip, and it came up Portland. So there is an alternate history, like most Republicans like, where we could have been Boston, Oregon, which would have been really weird. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Number one, thank you for your support of Indie Agency News. We appreciate that very much. I had a chance to be in Boston with all of you during Ad Age's small agency conference and awards. And I got to say, I freaking love Boston. I'm half Italian, by the way. So North End till I die, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, I mean, I'm a Regina Pizza guy. So, you know, I end up gaining about 6 pounds every time I come to Boston, which my family appreciates. But let's start with this. Let's start with the background on the agency, when it was founded, and just give me a little bit of a thumbnail on that one. Who wants that?
Sure, I'll take that, since I've been here. I don't know, since the beginning.
There we go. Yeah.
So we, I think this is not an unusual story. My partner and I worked at a very, very large agency called Hill Holliday. We did a lot of great stuff there. 20 years ago, but we saw a sea change. We saw, we were at a wonderful agency that was known for all the traditional stuff, a lot of broadcast, and the digital world was already happening. Social hadn't even started yet, but we knew we weren't going to be able to thrive in an environment where sort of was all about the traditional. So we said, well, what do we do? What also could be the most creative thing that we've done, outside of television campaigns and brand platforms, and it was to create an agency from scratch. So we started Full Contact January 4th, 2006.
Oh, wow.
And somewhere in this office, I see it right now, our very first job was a naming exercise for Au Bon Pain for $1,500. And it's hanging up, the invoice. But it was really about, this idea of making an extraordinary impact in lots of different ways than the normal way. And so right off the bat, most of what we were doing early on was digital, and then we jumped into social. It's been really fun. And don't get me wrong, we still do our fair share of traditional, but this was, the name Full Contact was all about all the different ways you make contact with people.
And it does have like a little Boston. So Hill Holliday, Karen Kaplan, and then
yes.
Also, did you work with Mark Nardi?
Of course I work with Mark Nardi. He's a very good friend.
Freaking Mark Nardi.
Probably the best writer ever to come out of Boston.
No
Mark
question.
Nardi.
No freaking question. Mark fucking Nardi.
He's wicked good.
Oh, he's fucking wicked good. Seriously.
Also an Italian. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, fucking
biased.
The biggest feet in advertising. That's a whole different story. Yeah, he's giant feet. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Crazy.
Beautiful, just a wonderfully beautiful, awesome human being. Oh my, and you're right. So gifted, so talented. So Mark and Aaron, how long have you been at the agency?
I've been here 8 months. 9
Oh, okay.
months. Yep. I started in September. So math is hard. So September.
Yeah.
And what's your role again?
CFO. No.
Oh yeah, right.
Managing partner.
And
Okay.
I'm the most recent hire, and I came on in February of this year. So
Where were you before this?
months back. I was at GYK, another independent
Yeah.
agency here based in Boston.
Yeah.
Yep. But I've worked with both of these guys throughout my career and have known them for over a decade. So
Okay.
we hit the ground running.
Yep. And I like your background. You got your degrees
This
up.
is Boston. We're
I
very
know.
educated.
I had a friend that said swing a dead cat, hit a college in Boston.
Yes.
Basically,
Yeah. Apologies to any of you feline fans. I'm just quoting what my friend said. So yeah.
Cats are having a tough week.
Yeah. So, Marty, you've touched on a couple of things about what the agency is best known for, but I want to get into, what you would say if you had to have the strap line, as it were, plus what you would say the agency's 3 top core strengths are, because every agency has a long list of things that they're very good at, but it feels like 3 to 5 things really start rising to the top. Let's start with Marty, and then Mark and Aaron, being relatively new, talk a little bit more about what Marty says about the top 3 core strengths. So Marty, why don't you go ahead and take that one?
And this is something that is we've kind of given it a name, but it's been built into our DNA from the beginning. And it's only been 8 months, but since Mark showed up and Aaron, after that, but what we're really probably are outside of creative, which we do really well. And this is, we are a creatively founded, creatively driven agency, and will always be that. But we also do what we call branded performance. And I'll let Mark tell you a lot more about that, but it's the idea of, elevating brand with performance, and elevating performance with brand. It's sort of this, because right now there's a lot of agencies that will do one or the other, but we have sort of mastered a way, if you will, to create incredible results for these hard charging companies in lots of different categories with our creative. I would say that is, and it started with a very retail background. We have a lot of retail accounts where it's not just about telling the pretty story. It's about selling as much stuff as possible,
Yep.
So we've had that built into us from the very beginning, and even before the very beginning. So we've sort of evolved that into this idea of branded performance. And Mark, why don't you fill in the blanks there? Because I think it's a great story that we've been nuancing for almost 2 decades, but we've really hit the ground running in just the last less than a year.
Yeah, you covered off on a lot of it, Marty. I think the biggest thing is not separating brand and performance, which is happening so much. Really, at the end of the day, it's balancing like the urgency of sales and financial impact with traditional brand building and vice versa. And kind of we deliver that in a very special way based on all of our backgrounds. Like we all come from CBG, and as Marty mentioned, very retail intensive background. So we have a CPG tail, we call it, mindset. And what CPG tail is using the strategic rigor of CPG and delivering it at the speed of retail. And that's what brings branded performance to life, right? We start really intensely, but we balance, again, the urgency of performance marketing, sales, and real impact, real fast with longer term brand building. That happens for very different types of clients. For ButcherBox, we do it performance led, and we brought brand to the table, which elevated the entire communications plan and had true impact and is working very hard. And for clients like Body Armor, who are very brand intensive, we brought performance and action and getting consumers to act to the party. So it wasn't just about brand building ideas or positioning. It was, how are we going to get people to try, buy, subscribe, like, love, follow, etc. All the things we talk about that make performance marketing so valuable. Because at the end of the day, you can have all the beautiful brand building tenants, positioning, ads.
Right.
If we're not getting people to click, we're not getting people to subscribe, we're not getting people to buy.
Right.
Sales at the end of the day. So combining those two is what we do best. It's kind of branded performance.
Yeah, and I like the ButcherBox analogy, because with brands like that, it's really interesting to me, because they will reach a certain saturation point, and then it's generally performance first, brand, and then brand next. And that's okay, because if they reach a saturation point, it just proves out not even the theory, it's just the practice of, yeah, you got to have really good creative. You have to have a strong brand. You have to have those principles. Then you start getting more of that exponential lift. And you see it a lot of time with the direct to consumer and challenger brand. So I like that example because that's super specific. And then you're right, because Body Armor started out with a really great narrative. And that only takes you so far. And I would argue that it's harder to do it that way, because I think when you do it, when it's a challenger brand, like, yeah, you're going to get a run. But when it's a narratively led brand first, like a Body Armor, it's a little bit harder. Yeah.
Yeah, but the new media landscape and where they're spending their money, it's just, adding call to actions. It's action, it's just adding simple, like, the 4 Ps, but making people act rather than just leaving it with, Body Armor.
Who knew the things that we did years ago still work? Aaron, this is for you. And you came from an indie.
I did.
And I want you to take this one first. Why is being independent important, but both to you and especially with your experience and now coming into again to another independent environment? Why is that important to you, and why do you think that's important to the agency?
Yeah, it's a great question. Well, I think between the three of us, we cover having worked at agencies within quite a few of the major networks over the course of our careers. And obviously the advertising world is changing constantly. And I think all of us individually and together felt that, holding companies just had trouble pivoting as quickly as we'd like. And you heard that a lot when Marty was talking about the founding story. But being an indie just really allows us to make decisions together very quickly. It gives our clients constant access to the leadership team. We divide our client portfolio amongst the three of us. So there's always a partner who can be reached and is always reaching out to, the clients that we service. And most importantly, I think it allows the three of us to do what we like best, which is stay connected to the work. And I just think that's really hard to do as you progress in your career at a 500 plus person agency, which all of us have worked at. And so instead of spending our days in like marathon meetings, we're able to lead our business, set the financial goals, set the creative vision, manage our people. And I think the people that work at Full Contact really feel that. They feel like we're intimately involved and working together to build the agency that we always wanted to work at.
Right.
And, I think indies are the way of the future. I think it's where it's at.
Yeah. I had this discussion with somebody this week about, these golden eras of independent agencies, and the past couple of sprints on that have resulted in M&A, and there's always going to be M&A. We all know that, but I think that there's a durability to indies now that's a little bit different. Let's move on to what brands should know about working with you. Marty, very simply put, what's the main reason a brand should work with Full Contact?
There's a lot of reasons, but I think given the evolution of where advertising and marketing is going, I think one thing we are really good at is sort of turning a challenge into an opportunity, and a big opportunity. Like there's a lot of people will say, well, what are the challenges you have? And every client we've ever worked with has a different challenge. And we instantly turn that on its head and say, okay, here's how you can use that challenge to make it into something that really catapults your business forward. But I think another thing that I think brands would like about us is the different ways we manage to work with clients. And no, again, another reason no two clients are different, but the two examples I can think of, and Mark, please fill in, the notion of, for Body Armor, we are one team, and Mark is basically running the charge, running everything there with them. But we are one great team. They got a wonderful creative department, as do we, but we all are fused together. And for ButcherBox, we manage their creative team. So we are the creative directors for their in-house creative. So two completely different ways of working with two completely different kinds of clients in two completely different categories. So, one size does not fit all here, but I think at the top of it is we are really, and you know, how many between the two terms I never want to hear again in advertising: problem solvers and storytellers. I mean, it's like, but what's a better way of saying that? We come in and we create these wonderful opportunities that clients never knew that they had to grow their businesses.
Right. Yep. That's the beauty of having outside perspective. Go ahead, Mark.
No, I was just saying, I agree with Mark. I think the one thing this tails into, like, why being independent is the way to go, is we never start a conversation with scope of work. We ask two questions, like, where do you want to be and why aren't you there? Right. And then we develop a scope of problem that informs the scope of work, right? Like a lot of, traditionally you come with a scope of work and it's these are the people you're going to get for that scope of work and it's all set in stone. Rather, let's figure out the scope of the problem that will inform the scope of work that informs the team that we'll put together for you. That you can't do at a lot of the big holding companies, so we actually really curate the teams and how we work that fits the problem or the challenge at hand.
Yep. I like that. Aaron, do you have a thought on this too? Because again, you're coming into this as the newbie, but you've had experience with, working in other places, and it's, why would a brand want to work with us?
Yeah, I mean, I think, when Marty was talking about the founding story, it's almost just
the answer's me, Aaron. They want to work with me.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's inherent in the name. Full contact. To make full contact, we have to make impact. And I think you'll see that in every story that you've heard today, we're very focused on, the results of what we did for those clients. So, and
right.
Full Contact just has a really rich history of doing that. They've sold, like, from our work on Cumberland Farms, where we sold billions of cups of coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah. I bet when you come to Boston, you get coffee.
No. I'm my family's from South Jersey. I get it. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
But to even creating some products for some of our partners. So, for example, with our partner Arbella Insurance, they had trouble reaching millennials. So we actually created a whole new insurance product for them called Carpartment to really help them reach that audience and drive sales. So I think it's just the inherent focus on making an impact in all we do. And that's Full Contact.
Okay, cool. Let's talk about talent. Why talent should be putting the agency on their list. Marty, let's start with you.
Oh, that's easy. So because we are Full Contact, again, the name says a lot of how we work. And, we don't have social creatives. We don't have traditional creatives. We have creatives that work on everything at every time, and that's fun. There's some people who just, we will never be the place that just spits out content, 1,000 times, a week. We're conceptually driven. We're creatively driven. So for the creatives who still feel that concept is king, this is the place you want to go. And for everyone else, we really do have these intimate relationships with our clients. The creatives are just as immersed in the relationship as the account people are here. And that's really important. That's really important to me because that's how I was able to sell my best work over my, holy shit, 36-year career. It's like you need to have relationships with clients as creatives to do what we do. And then so if you're the type of creative who just wants to push the work over to somebody and then not have anything to do with it, you don't want to work here. If you're the type of creative who knows that you're going to get the best work done by having that relationship, by listening to clients, then this could be your kind of place. And also, you need to have, I think that we have, how to be Full Contact. The number one principle of how to be Full Contact is to make shit happen. Initiative is probably even more than talent is initiative. If you're the kind of person who doesn't wait for an assignment, but actually creates something from nothing, come work here. That's what I love to see. That's what I've always loved to see. People who make something from nothing.
Thought experiment question here. You have a reservation at Pizza Regina in North Boston.
Yes.
Your options for a party of 4 are Mark Wahlberg, Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, Rachel Dratch, Chris Evans, John Krasinski, Conan O'Brien, Amy Poehler, Steve Carell, or Uma Thurman. Famous Bostonians. Who are the 3 that you take to dinner?
I choose Amy Poehler. She just rocks.
Yeah. Okay.
I
Rachel
choose
Dratch
Aaron
would
and
be
Marty.
Ah, good answer.
Kiss ass.
Yeah.
They're not my bosses, but I do kiss their ass. Especially Aaron.
And by the way, I waited until the end of this to inform everyone that I am a huge Philadelphia sports fan.
Oh.
So yeah, so sorry.
Sorry.
Who would you go with, Marty?
I would love to sit and listen to the two Affleck boys and Matt Damon just shoot the just beat the shit out of each other. I think that'd be hilarious
That would
to
be
watch.
funny, wouldn't it?
Just the two, Casey and Ben and Matt Damon.
Just
the
busting
history
chops.
that they have. They were nobodies who became somebodies like practically overnight. With they that would be and I would just listen. I would just listen
know,
to them
right?
literally shit on each other.
Yeah. And this is so. Here's the thing. Like again, I'd mentioned the Philly thing, so most of my family is from that area. I know that we definitely don't meet on sports, but one thing that we do meet on is, and I definitely have this, by the way, and it may even be more pronounced because it's South Jersey. A little bit of a chip on my shoulder. Like there's like a Philly thing where it's like fight, and I've noticed that there is a kinship between Boston and Philly on that. Talk a little bit about that, because you get certain flavors of something in a market like Philadelphia or Boston that is there's just something different to it.
Well, it's a great question, and I do think that when John Henry bought the Red Sox and Robert Kraft bought the Patriots, they kind of cleaned up the angry sport fan thing in both Fenway and Gillette, and so. But there used to be like knockdown, drag out fights at those places. So
Right.
I think we've become a little more civilized. I don't know if that's going on in Philly. And the Bruins game, same thing. When tickets now cost $250 a pop,
right.
for a shitty seat, you kind of are welcoming a certain clientele and you're kicking others to the curb.
Yeah. But
So
but even outside of sports, like even in our industry, like I definitely have, like, I've been in Oregon for 32 years, but the Philly comes out, like the Jersey comes out.
Yeah.
But I honestly think that's a little bit of a superpower, like because Boston feels the same, right?
I mean, I started my career for 18 years in New York, right? And that was one of the things all my bosses said to me was my attitude, my mentality was different than a lot of people that were from New York. And it was because I think being from Boston, especially in advertising, you feel like, oh, I'm from a secondary market, or, you have something to prove. But then when you come back here, I think most of the people you work with that are from Boston or chose to live here, make it through the seasons. We feel like we're tough. We made ourselves. We weren't handed anything. I think that's the mentality or the chip.
Right. And, and not banging on New York or LA or Chicago or anything, because they're obviously great markets and we have a lot of great indie agencies there. But yeah, I think there's always something really, really interesting when you go into a place that you don't expect. Kansas City is a great example of that with Barkley and others. Minneapolis has always been like that. Seattle and Portland, obviously. But I think that's really, really cool. All right. Last question. Again, this is a thought experiment, whether they are an existing client or not. Who is a CMO or a marketer you want to say hello to?
It's a company more than a marketer for me.
Go for it.
I love small brands that come out of nowhere and make a real impact and have a point of view. And there's a new beef jerky brand called Chomps, which is killing it. And I follow them I've been following their progress. And they've really created a vibe and a culture and reinvigorated for me, like the beef jerky category. I love brands that do things that are very different in stale categories. And my dream client is Fluff.
The marshmallow stuff.
And he's been
Wow.
talking about that for years, by the way.
I love
is
that.
Ripe.
We're going to manifest it.
I never knew that. Let's talk about Fluff. That's incredible.
There's nothing better than a fluffernutter. They're right in our backyard. We got to just go knock on their door.
Hey, so here's what I saw too on the Instagram that the kids like. It was a Reese's peanut butter cup in fluff, and then cooked over like a s'more. Like
Oh, like a
did it
s'more.
It looks so good.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, forget it. All right. Well, I'm all for that one. All right. Aaron, what's a brand, who's our marketer that you want to say hi to?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a good question, and I knew Mark was going to say Fluff before he even said it. I think, for me, there's a lot of really incredible Boston brands, like we were talking about, New Balance being one that, used to do a lot of work specifically in the Boston market. And, I'd love to say hey to them, come back to Boston, and let's do some incredible work around the marathon or insert any other incredible place here.
Right.
Especially with like a local agency who really understands, how to make great work.
Yep. Love that. Marty, you got the last word on this, buddy.
I'm going to go back in time a little bit and, I think about all the great work that I've been privileged to be a part of, and none of that would happen without a bunch of clients over the history of Full Contact, and even before Full Contact, like the folks at Cumberland Farms, the folks at Zipcar, like all the brands that took a chance and said, we're going to hire these guys. And even today, the folks at ButcherBox, the folks at Body Armor, they believe what we believe, which is the power of making an impact through advertising and creativity. We would not be here without clients who believe the same thing. Going all the way back to Eddie Binder at Dunkin' Donuts when I was doing it at Hill. I mean, they changed their business because they took a creative leap with us. And those are the kind of clients we want, the ones who believe in the power of marketing and advertising. Some clients don't get it. There are plenty out there today who see the benefit of what not only we can do, but what great advertising can do for their business.
Everybody gets a little piece of Dunkin'. Everybody gets a little.
Yes, they do.
Everybody's had a spin on Dunkin'. Hasn't quite come out this way yet. There's like one out here.
Oh, they've tried so many times for decades. They keep trying to crack the West Coast, and it's not
going to happen. No,
I agree.
Maybe if they'd named Portland New Boston, it would have happened. But
Exactly.
The Portland cream donut does not have nearly as much like.
No shit. Oh my God. Listen, or as you say in Boston, look it. It's been very, very enjoyable getting to spend some time with you again. Thank you so much for your support of what we're doing. I can't wait to dig in with you. Lots more to come, but thanks for joining us, and best wishes for continued success. You guys are wicked awesome.
Thanks a lot, John.
Have a good day, buddy.